And you've talked about culture being like one of the biggest single drivers of economies in the world.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And like I think it's in like high single digit percentages. It's something we don't think about very much.
Because it's so in our life.
Yeah, and like you said, I've heard you say this before, that, you know, when we make choices for shoes and clothes, and, you know, if it was just utility, we'd all pick the same thing.
Exactly.
And yet we spend, you know, ridiculous amounts. I think you said the more people spend on shoes, the less comfortable they are.
Well, more. I mean, you know, some may debate that. However, definitely there is no direct proportional value in the cost of the shoe relative to its performance of the shoe in the traditional sense. You know, like a very comfortable shoe would be very cheap, perhaps, right? But, you know, a very expensive shoe is not necessarily the physical comfort, but it gives you a sense of yourself. Like you feel good wearing it. And how do you express that feeling? That feeling isn't a logical feeling, because humans aren't entirely logical beings, right? We have emotions, we have desires, right? We're built in this manner, so we buy things that make us feel or look good. In the physical world, we also do self-expression in different ways. I mean, you know, this may not have been socially accepted in the past, but today, for instance, people, you know, wear sort of earrings, people do piercings, people wear tattoos, right? I mean, what is that? A tattoo is really, if you think about it, in the virtual sense, a kind of a skin, right? That is basically closer than just, you know, something that you put on, or people color their hair. I mean, I don't think there's much of a difference really. It's another form of self-expression, except you can do it much more rapidly and you can explore much more faster in the metaverse because of the fact that you have these devices where you can actually explore yourself in a manner that perhaps you couldn't do physically, not just because of the physical limitation, but perhaps because of societal behavior or because of other things that you can freely express online that you can't actually express physically. So I think of this as, you know, like it's already happening. It's already there, and you need to sort of at least understand it. Because, you know, I mean, I may have given this example before, but if I had told, for instance, if you know, in my mom's generation, I would have told her that we would be worshiping superheroes, right? and basically, you know, those type of icons, people flying in the sky and basically sort of conquering some alien monsters, and that was what we were looking at. She'd be like, what is this? Why would we care about this stuff, right? Or that we were spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on things like Birkin bags and expensive, you know, Hermes items and so on. They would have said, this is insane. Where we are today is exactly what we do today. Everything is related to sort of a self-expression and our identity. Culture is, in our view, the biggest TVL of any economy. Because culture,
total value locked.
Total value locked, like
right.
in crypto terms.
In crypto terms.
But in economic terms, it just means that it's stuff that you sink into the economy because of identity, because of different purposes outside of utility. For instance, I don't know, whether it's a wedding ring, or maybe even the place you buy, or certain items that you have, these are things you will never sell, right? They mean something to you. It's not because they're perishable, it's because they're special to you. And then you buy them, and they become part of your legacy. And that legacy identifies not just your identity, but travels down the identity of your entire family. I mean, think of those. Why are we obsessing about ancestry? And why do we care about our legacies and backgrounds? Because again, we're exploring about who we are. Like, what's my background? Okay, there's a national identity, but then beyond the national, there is also the sort of, you know, my history, my family history, my background. And I need to be reminded or reinforced on these physical things. In the digital space, we couldn't do this until Web3 and blockchain. Now I can literally pass on my legacy that's digital, that's permanent on, but with one major difference: no size limitation. Mm-hmm. I am not restricted. I can keep all these things. You know, maybe this tradition is kept less in the Western world, but for instance, in places like Asia, particularly in Japan, your home often, your ancestral home, is just something you don't sell, right? You own it because there's a legacy, there's a history that comes down from a history that says, you know, where you're from. And so therefore you simply can't sell that, you know, unless you have to, right? And it feels different. I mean, imagine for those people who bought their first home, built something in their life, and yeah, commercially it makes sense to sell, but what does it make you feel? Most people will have an emotional reaction to that. It's not logical, right? Someone's paying you more money? Of course, upgrade. But you leave something behind when you do that. And that's basically what property rights does for us, and it's culture. And that is what we invest and develop in. And because of culture, we have things like movies, and we have things like television, and we have people employed in the space, which has then caused an industry to create flat screen TVs, or PlayStation, or Xbox. Like, imagine if we didn't have culture in the world, there would be no retail, there would be no sort of, you know, technology, right? Think about just what the gaming industry spawned. the reason the gaming industry spawned high-performing GPUs, which basically, if you think about it, is one of the things that the crypto community basically ended up riding on for proof of work in the early days.
Yeah, and AI now.
And AI now, exactly, right? So it's the history of human creativity and innovation often begins in very whimsical ways. And this is, again, when we talk about this debate about humans versus AI, is that a human person will do something for their own pleasure that entertains them, that doesn't come from a natural form of logical utility. I mean, think about the history of creating musical instruments. I mean, some person somewhere in the world had to decide, well, okay, let's make an instrument because it sounds nice. It wasn't for utility. It wasn't to sort of bring order to something. It was just nice to listen to. It was just beautiful. Or art, whether it's cave paintings or whatever. It's not logical, right, when people make these paintings, but they tell their own story, and that's an element of that creativity. And then it leads to something else. One of the sort of more fascinating stories is the very first typewriter was known as the writing harpsichord, because the innovation of the piano, which was a musical instrument, had this keyboard mechanism. And then they created, basically, you can look up it online, you can see that the very first typewriter, which eventually led to a system that would lead to the computer and the personal PC as we see today, started from the keyboard of a harpsichord, which was basically the predecessor of a piano. Yeah. Right? And you'll find many cases in history, whether it's automatons or other things like this, where the innovations that we experience today come from whimsical and creative experiences that are very human and have nothing to do with practical utility. And now we have the PC and we have the computer that has a keyboard that really started from a musical instrument.
So Jim Rickards has just recorded a video that's not available to anyone in the public, and he's going to be talking about how this upcoming recession is going to be fast, it's going to be bloody, it's going to be nasty. But at the same time, he's going to show you how you can position yourself to profit from all of this chaos. Now, we've made this video only available to our viewers. Go to londonreal.tv/Jim. Watch that immediately. I can't say enough good things about Jim Rickards. He understands the global economic system better than any guest I've ever had on London Real. His predictions are almost uncannily true, and you can learn how to profit from his vision, from his expertise, and his understanding of economics. So go to londonreal.tv/Jim or click the link below. It's an excellent, excellent look on what's going to happen in the future and how you can position yourself to profit from that. Jim is one of the best in the business, one of my favorite guests on London Real, and he's very, very good at predicting the future and showing us all to profit from it. So click the link, and I hope you enjoy. Hey, it's Brian Rose, founder of the DeFi Academy. I've told you my 4-week crypto bootcamp is amazing, but don't take my word for it. This is what my students are saying.
The DeFi Academy was an amazing experience for me. It took me totally out of my comfort zone.
In this course, I was challenged, I was held accountable, and pushed to do things that honestly weren't always easy.
It's been phenomenal, and I can't believe we're already up on our 4 weeks. It has flown by.
Going through this DeFi accelerator by far was one of the best courses I've taken.
You do this course, you really get into the nitty-gritty of the activities that will make you comfortable with decentralized finance.
Thank you so much to Brian and everyone at London Real and the DeFi Academy for even putting together an amazing course like this.
Anybody else that wants to do it, please sign up. It is well worth the money.